All right, let's talk about the neuroscience of habit. We're going to dive into why that daily struggle with self-control, well, it has a lot less to do with you being strong or weak, and way more to do with the actual biology of your brain.
You know this feeling, right? It's that moment at the end of a long day when your willpower just evaporates. You've made so many little decisions, you've resisted all these temptations, and then bam, you find yourself doing the exact thing you promised yourself you wouldn't. It feels like the battle was lost before it even started. And you know what? Science has a pretty good explanation for why that is.
So here's how we're going to break it down. We're going to start with that all too familiar feeling of being drained. Then we'll tackle the myth of willpower and get into the science of the silent war happening inside our minds. We'll figure out why our mental batteries seem to die so fast. And then, this is the good part, we'll talk about a solution that actually works with our brains. It's all about shifting from blame to biology.
Okay, so first up, let's really identify who we're up against in this fight for self-control. And here's a little spoiler for you. The enemy isn't your character. It's the very wiring of your own mind.
This right here, this is the absolute core of it. Your brain doesn't really care about your New Year's resolutions or your 5-year plan. Its main job, the one it's been perfecting for thousands of years, is survival and saving energy. That means it will always prefer the path of least resistance to conserve fuel.
Now let's get into a huge misconception. We have this tendency to frame our internal struggles as some kind of moral failing, and we use these labels that are not only unhelpful, but they're just scientifically wrong.
We call it laziness. We call it procrastination. We think it's a flaw in our character. But what if I told you that from a psychological perspective, it's none of those things? It's actually a predictable pattern. You're not lazy. Your brain is just being incredibly efficient. You're not undisciplined. You're literally hitting a metabolic wall.
This quote just hits the nail on the head. I want you to start thinking about willpower not as a virtue, but as a currency, like a finite cognitive budget. And just like with money, you simply can't spend what you don't have, no matter how badly you want something.
So, if willpower is a currency, where is it all going? Well, inside your brain right now there is a silent war constantly being waged between two very different parts, and they both have completely different agendas.
On one side, you've got the prefrontal cortex. Think of it as the CEO of your brain. It's ambitious, it sets goals, it plans for the future. The problem? Running this CEO is incredibly expensive, energy-wise. It's like trying to run a supercomputer. It's powerful, but man, does it drain the battery. And on the other side, you have the basal ganglia. This is the automated factory floor. It's the home of your habits. It's ancient, it's efficient, and it runs on almost zero conscious energy. It just does what it's always done, no questions asked.
So what is willpower then? It's the actual measurable cognitive fuel that your CEO, the prefrontal cortex, has to burn every single time it wants to step in and override the automatic factory floor. Every time you make a different choice, you're draining that tank.
Okay, this brings up a really important question, right? If this fuel is finite for everyone, why does it feel like some of us start the day with a smaller tank than others? Why does my mental battery drain so incredibly fast?
Well, a lot of the time, the answer is hidden cognitive costs. Think of them like all those apps running in the background of your phone. They're draining your battery long before you even open the app you actually want to use. Things like chronic worry or just constantly being on. And these costs come from all sorts of places. For instance, some research suggests that chronic overthinking, which can be common in people with high IQs, just burns through mental energy. Or maybe if you had a stressful childhood or had to grow up too fast, your nervous system might be stuck on high alert, constantly scanning for problems. Or if you often felt unseen, you might have developed this hyper-awareness to social cues. All of this is work. It's invisible mental effort that's happening long before you even try to build that new habit.
This is such a powerful way to look at it. Your brain might have already put in a full day's work just by thinking and managing your internal state. So that feeling of laziness, it's not a choice to give up. It's often the result of having already done too much, invisibly. It's a sign that you're exhausted, not that you're a flawed person.
So, if our batteries are already half empty from all this invisible work, how in the world do we find the energy to change? Well, the solution isn't to fight our brain's nature. That is a losing battle, my friend. The key is to start working with it, and that is where habits become our secret weapon.
The whole process of forming a habit is really just your brain's genius way of saving energy. Think about learning to drive a car. At first, it takes every ounce of your concentration, right? That's your prefrontal cortex working overtime. But you do it again and again, and eventually your brain goes, hey, I see a pattern here. I can automate this. And it offloads that entire task to the super efficient basal ganglia. And pretty soon, you're driving without even thinking about it.
So this changes everything, doesn't it? We've been chasing the wrong thing. The game isn't about somehow magically getting more willpower. It's about strategically building systems and habits that mean you need less willpower in the first place. This is where real, lasting change actually comes from.
All right, let's bring this all home. Understanding this science allows us to finally get off that miserable treadmill of self-blame and frustration. We can replace it with self-compassion and, more importantly, with a strategy. We can stop beating ourselves up and start working with our amazing grains.
If you take one thing away from this, please let it be this. You are not broken. You're not lazy. You're not undisciplined. You are a biological system, and your brain is just trying to protect you by saving energy in a world that demands way too much of it. Once you understand the mechanism, you can finally stop blaming yourself for simply being human.
So I'm going to leave you with this question. Instead of asking yourself, how can I be stronger tomorrow? Ask this. What's one small system I can build that will require less heroism? Maybe it's laying out your gym clothes tonight, or prepping your lunch, or just blocking out 15 minutes on your calendar to write. How can you set up your world so you don't have to be a hero every single day?